I just want to start by sharing something I read recently. Something I read was by Eric Schmidt of Google. And he says there were 5 exabytes of information created between the dawn of civilization through 2003. But that much information is now created every 2 days, and the pace is increasing. And now when I read that, I went, wow. It sort of raised a question in my head. And the question was, if there's this much information out there, why aren't we all millionaires? Why aren't we all the most successful person we want to become? Why aren't we the healthiest we want to be? There's all this information out there. And the answer in my head came to me in the fact that it comes from cultivating a mindset for success. Now, you've heard a lot of talks about you got the idea, you know what you need to do, and the action. But what's the difference that's going to get you from there to do the action is really the mindset, how you're cultivating that mindset. And I want to share with you something that a lot of the successful entrepreneurs have, but also something that influences our mindset day to day. And I want to illustrate this first through a small game. So I want you to pair up with the person next to you. If you've sort of got threes, go in a group of 3 here. You'll need a paper and pen for this. So if you just want to sort of get into your small groups here first. Okay, so we're going to play sort of 4 very quick exercises. And as soon as you've done it, raise your hand in your group if you've solved it. And we'll sort of move on to the next one there. Okay, so we'll start with the top right square. I want you just using one line to divide it into 2 equal spaces in that empty space there. So one line to divide that square top right into 2 equal spaces. So again, very quick here. Hands up when you've done it or you solved it. Oh no, that's shaded. So it's this blank space. So it's the blank space you're dividing into 2 equal spaces. The white is the shaded part. You got it?
We also got it.
Oh no, it's this square here.
We also got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
It's outside. So I'll show you just an example here. So this is the answer.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you all got that? So you put a line in the blank space. You've split the blank space there into 2 equal parts. Yeah, everyone get the hang of it? Everyone knows what we're doing now? Great. So top left, use 2 lines and divide that into 3 equal spaces.
Top left.
Yep, top left. So hands up as soon as you're done, very quick. Great, that's most of you done. That's what it is there.
Exactly.
Everyone get that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to give you any lines for this one. I'll leave it open. So for this one here, we want 4. So divide the blank space into 4 equal shapes.
Using how many lines?
Up to you, up to you. So there's no limit.
Which one?
The bottom left, bottom left. Did you get it?
No, we are not.
You got it?
4.
Oh no, the bottom left. That's comes square.
4 lines.
So 4 equal.
Okay.
Okay, pens down. No one got it? Okay, I'll show you this one, okay? There we go. So 4 equal shapes in the blank space there. Okay, the final one. You all got that one? The final one's going to be very quick. 7 equal shapes. Okay, so 7 equal spaces. I'll give you a quick 8 seconds there. Got it? One here. Anyone else? Yep. So we got 1 here. Okay, no one else got it? Okay, pens down. Okay, I'll show you the solution. So most of you didn't get it, and why was that? What were people always going through your minds when you were doing that final square? You felt it was more complicated?
Following the pattern.
You followed the pattern? Essentially what's happening is your decision for the final square is being influenced by what I asked you in the previous square. So this analogy shows a lot of decisions we make we're basing on past experiences, past information that may not be relevant for our current decisions. And also it's about thinking outside the box here. Because if I started with the first bottom right square, and I said divide it into 7, I'm sure you would have all got it straight away. But because we went through the other way around, only one person got it. And there's usually only sort of one or two that sort of get this final one there. So, quote here from Steve Jobs about innovation. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. There's been a lot of talk so far about leadership. But one of the things I like about this is Steve Jobs, Picasso, a lot of these other successful thought leaders have said some of their best ideas in innovations, a lot of people say, how do we innovate? It's stealing. They say our best ideas come from stealing. But people misinterpret the quote. They said, okay, so what, you mean steal from the same industry? I'm stealing from my competitors. No, because that's not innovation. That's copying your competitors. What they meant by stealing is steal from other industries. So does everyone know, I don't know if you've got MacBooks, but you know the MacBook cord? It's a magnet cord, so if you were to trip on it, it unplugs straight away without bringing the whole laptop onto the floor. Does anyone know how Steve Jobs came up with that idea?
Probably visited the factory.
Factory? Any other thoughts? He stole it from a Japanese kettle company. So in Japan, there was a kettle company that thought, that it was a health hazard if a kid was to run past a kettle and the cord was connected to the kettle and it yanked the whole appliance on the floor. He saw that this Japanese kettle company innovated by using a magnetic cord so that the cord would disattach from the kettle. And so he thought, that's a great idea. I'm going to take that and use it on the MacBook. And so to the world of technology, he appeared a genius, because to the people in his industry, he was innovative. I've got a friend who, I'm not sure how many of you have been to London, but there's a nightclub in London called Tonterer. It's in West London, the sort of wealthiest part of London, and they innovate all the time. And one of their innovative ideas was, how can we spend nothing on marketing, or as little as possible, but turn all of our customers into marketing tools? Because then everything they make is pure profit. So one of the ideas they came up with is, they looked at these sort of Hamleys, these toy shops, and they loved walking in there, because as a kid, as you walk in, there's like trains above you, there's all this like toy gadgets thing going on. And he decided, why don't I take that concept, put a train above my nightclub, and if someone orders the most expensive shots and drinks and cocktails, we'll put the drinks at the top of the train, the choo-choo train will go around to that VIP table, and you'll have these people dressed up in Mexican masks, because it's a Mexican theme bar, with the maracas on them, and they take the drinks from the train and they give it to your table. Now what can you imagine everyone on that table is doing as soon as that happens?
Taking pictures.
Taking pictures. The smartphones are out. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Imagine how many times that gets around the internet just in one night. The funny thing is they sell out every night now. They sold it every single night because everyone keeps asking, what's this club where you get drinks on a train? What's this club where the Mexican dancers come out like Rihanna video style with a big mask on with maracas on? Because all these concepts he keeps stealing from other industries to keep innovating the way that he always comes across as new, as refreshed. So you don't always get the same thing with a nightclub there. Okay, there's some text missing. Okay, so this actually moves into vision and why, vision dissection here. However, before you can cultivate a mindset for success, the first thing you have to accept is that you're 100% responsible for where you are now. And there's something that is empowering about that, because until you accept 100% responsibility for where you are right now, you can't sort of move forward. You can't change your direction there. How many of you seen 127 Hours, Danny Boyle's film? Anyone seen that? Got one person there? Two people. So it's based on a true story about a guy who loves adventure. So he goes out in the US, he goes to these canyons, he loves climbing these canyons. One day he decides, I'm not going to tell anyone I'm doing this little canyon adventure. So no one knows where he's gone. He goes to these canyons in the US and he gets caught. A boulder falls down and traps half of his right arm in the canyon. And he can't pull his arm out. So he's stuck there in the middle of a canyon with no one around him. No one to call, no mobile phone, nothing. And for 127 hours, he's figuring out, he's realizing at that point, he's facing death. He can't pull himself out. I won't go into too much graphic detail, but in essence, it's a true story. And what he did is he realized the whole thing was his fault. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He He didn't tell anyone what he was doing, so no one could find him, even if he wanted them to. So he took responsibility. He knew that the only way he could change where he was if he took the action. He was 100% responsible for where he was. And on the 127th hour, he found a blunt. He looked at the blunt Swiss Army knife he had in his pocket, and you can imagine what he started doing with his right arm. He got out. He walked. Don't know how he did it. He got down the sort of hill he was on. He walked for kilometers after kilometers, and he eventually bumped into a tourist group who helped him. And he tells his story today through books, through speeches, that sort of thing. But that's the first thing we've got to do before we can start cultivating a mindset of success, is you've got to take 100% responsibility for where you are. So it's not the fault of the economy. It's not the fault of your boss. It's not the fault of any other external factors but yourself. And it starts with the vision. So I've got here clarity equals power. The reason why clarity is power is a lot of us know what we don't want. Beginning of the new year, New Year's resolutions. I don't want to be in this job forever this year. I want to be quitting smoking this year. You know what you don't want. It's so easy. But when you ask a lot of people, what is it you do want? Where do you want to be by the end of the year? A lot more people get stumped. They haven't sort of really spent time to think about it. Why it's important to spend time here is because when you visualize where you want to be, whatever area of your life is important right now, when you visualize and immerse yourself in it, it creates a magnetic force. It sort of pulls you towards it. It's something exciting. So to give you an example, I wouldn't use I want to quit smoking as sort of what I want there. I would create a visualization of how good will it be to be at the top of my health game. I'm the fittest I've been. I can actually go to the beach without having to cover up all the time because I don't want to show off my body, and the fact that people actually want to talk to me a lot more now. They don't smell the sort of cigarettes coming out of my breath, and I can sort of, I feel a lot more comfortable in that situation. You sort of focus more on the positive visualization of what that creates there. Now, Richard Branson is quite interesting. He owns so many Virgin companies. He obviously doesn't run all of them. He understands the power of outsourcing. He has the idea, he outsources it to other people to run for him. But where do you think energy comes from? The energy to constantly do this, energy to constantly set up new businesses, the energy to do anything in your life. Where do you sort of think energy comes from? Anyone want to?
Passion.
Passion?
Motivation.
Desire, motivation?
Setting goals.
Setting goals?
Vision.
Vision, yeah. It actually comes from being excited. Energy, some people say, I need my sleep. I get energy after sleeping a lot, catching up on my sleep. But there's been people who've created massive success by not sleeping that often, because the excitement carries them through. You get the energy from being excited. That's why visualization is so important. And what I want to do now is to give you an experience of how you can use visualization yourself. And the best time to use visualization is in the evenings and the mornings. And the reason is because you have a subconscious and a conscious brain. And the subconscious will focus on what you tell it to focus on through your mind. So if you were looking for, let's say, a red car, guess what? Suddenly you start noticing all the red cars around the street. But it's not that the red car suddenly appeared in the street. You're just now more conscious of noticing all the red cars around you. So what happens is that if you were to align more your subconscious with your conscious, suddenly opportunities seem to attract themselves towards you, and you suddenly find yourself meeting people that can help you. So what I want to do is give you an experience of visualization. So I want you to sort of 2 feet on the ground. I want you to sort of sit up straight. First of all, once you sort of got into that position, I just want you to breathe. So you don't have to stand. You can stand if you want, but you can sit down if that's easier. So just sit down with your feet on the floor. Sit upright, and just focus on your breathing first. So full breath in, full breath out. So just get used to sort of the full breathing pattern first. So full breathing in, full breathing out. Okay, and then I want all of you to close your eyes as you settle in this sort of breathing rhythm. So you'll get your eyes shut, just focus on breathing in and breathing out. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, I want you to feel that sort of deep sense of relaxation starting at the top of your skull and slowly working its way gently down your body. Through your skull, through your eyelids, your shoulders, your arms, your fingers, your legs, and your feet. And as you continue to get into this deep sense of relaxation, I want you to bring to mind 3 things that you're grateful for in the last 24 hours, however small. It might be the beautiful weather we're having. It might be someone you managed to connect with. However small, bring 3 things to mind of what you're grateful for. And once you've reflected on those 3 things that you're grateful for in the last 24 hours, I want you now to bring to mind a time in your life, going back, when you were at your most confident, your most unstoppable, the most confident version of you. And recall how that felt. Now, with this feeling, knowing that you have these gifts, these talents, these abilities, I want you now to visualize your perfect life, your perfect business, your perfect health. And I want you to begin by noticing where you are when it's perfect for you. So where are you at this moment? Notice which city, the colors in the room. Make it a bright, vivid screen. Immerse yourself in it. Who is with you in the room? What are they saying to you now you've achieved all that you've achieved here? What are you saying to yourself where you are right now? And now notice the feelings that come to you. How does it feel having accomplished all that? You're there, you've got it, you're living it, you're immersed in it now. Notice the feelings that come and where they're coming from. Spend time there and notice how good that feels. Now I want that feeling to cover you like a blanket. So that feeling to wash over you. So it's coming down through your head, through your shoulders. Let that just drop all around you. Bathe in that sort of feeling of how that is in this visualization. And ask yourself why you're experiencing this feeling. If you're ready to take the steps required to get there. And listen to that voice inside. What does it say? And I'm going to count slowly to 5. And at the end of 5, you'll open your eyes, feeling more relaxed, more focused, and ready to take your life in the direction you've wanted. So 1, 2, 3, feeling calmer now. 4, 5, and slowly open your eyes. Okay, what I want to do now is just for you to share with the person next to you by speaking in the present tense what that vision was for you. So what I mean by the present tense is you're assuming that visualization you've just experienced has already happened. You're in it now. So you'll be saying things like I am, ideal, I have. So just to the person next to you very quickly, just say that in the present tense, and then we'll sort of come back here again. So yeah, just share with the person next to you there. Let's go. Okay, guys, we're just going to bring it back around again. So, how was that for you? Any sort of comments? How are you guys feeling after that? Excited? What was that?
Some kids not finished.
Only 20 points.
Anything else? Rejuvenated? Fantastic. So, clear-minded. And this is the purpose of visualization, because when you do this regularly, what's happening is you're combining the sort of conscious and subconscious, and you're getting excited regularly. Your mind, you're feeding your mind with the images of where you want to get to. But more importantly, over time you get to this, the power of why. Because the vision doesn't really mean anything unless there's a reason why you want it. So if I were to say, could you make £10,000 in 1 month? How many of you raise your hand and say I can make £10,000 in 1 month? A couple of you? Now to the rest of you who haven't put your hands up, if I now say, can you make £10,000 in 1 month? Or your family would disappear, your loved ones will get imprisoned, potential being tortured, and other worse things, if you don't make £10,000 within 30 days. Now how many of you could make £10,000 in 30 days? So what was the difference? The difference is you now have a reason why you want it, why you want to get it. And it's where all visualizations have to start. So you can visualize forever, but unless you know why you want that, why is it important for you to get where you want to get to, whatever area of your life you're focusing right now, when you truly understand why, that's when the two get connected there. Because there's a guy called Simon Sinek. Anyone heard of Simon Sinek? Yeah, few. And he explores the concept of why. Now in business, very rarely do people buy what you do. Rarely. People buy why you do what you do. And there's a great example. If you walk into an electronics company, you want to go buy a laptop. So you walk into this company, you go, okay, the sales guy comes up to you and he goes, okay, this is a black laptop, it's 15-inch, it's got a 1.8 gigahertz processor, it's got this memory, it's this company, and if you buy it today, we'll give you €200 off. Doesn't really sell me the product because you could pretty much have that for any machine. But let's take an example of a company that has a why, say Apple. Now you go and speak to an Apple representative, an Apple employee, someone who's really well known, understands the products. They won't tell you a sales pitch in the same line. They'll start with the why. They'll say, we believe in making things simple. We believe in helping people use our products in the most efficient way possible by making it simple. Without instruction booklets that you just spend the whole weekend to read, you can pick up and use within 30 seconds. We just happen to design beautiful products. Do you want to buy one? You know, suddenly, you see it's very different. They haven't mentioned price, they haven't mentioned technicals, but now they're buying into the story. And it's the same with, say, you go to a networking event, and you ask people what their job is. And if someone comes up to you and say, I'm an accountant, how would you feel inside there? You probably wouldn't want to continue the conversation. You probably spend a little bit of time there, and you would say your excuses, and you sort of move on. However, if they started differently and said, I started 2 businesses a couple of years ago, and I realized there was 3 fundamental mistakes that were losing me money every single month when I was sorting out my tax returns and sorting out my administration papers. I've now been inspired to design a program that solves these 3 main issues that businesses face, primarily small businesses, for less than the price of a cup of coffee per day. Are you interested to find out more about what a guy does now? It's a very different way of approaching it. And it's the same thing when you apply it to your life there. The next section I want to talk about here is tracking and the compound effects of your everyday habits. Now, time is the one common denominator we all have. No matter what your background is, whether you're in a full-time job, whether you're running a business, time's the one thing we all have in common. Yeah, a lot of people say, I work in a full-time job, I can't follow my passions, I can't do this side project I've always wanted to do. Wrong, because if you take the fact that one day is 24 hours, and let's say we split it into 3 sections, so 8, 8, 8. Let's say you're at work for 8 hours, you're sleeping for 8 hours, you've still got 8 hours, which is in your control. That's a lot of time still, even if you're working on average an 8-hour-day job. And so you've got to be really tracking your time, because if you don't track the time, time just sort of goes and you're thinking, oh wow, where did all that time go? You look back and think, it's already 6 months. I mean, one question I'd like to ask the audience is, I know generally a lot of people kind of said, there's things I want to achieve by the end of 2015, there's things I want to do this year. How many of you have followed through with everything you said you wanted to do this year so far? So not the whole room there. So you see what I mean? There's things we want to follow through with, but even at this stage, we're only 3-4 months to go now. There's a lot of people here who haven't followed with some of the things they said they wanted to do. And it's because time, we don't know how much time we're losing. And living on purpose is one. The one common denominator, who knows what one of the famous common denominators between Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg is? Anyone know one of
The dropouts.
Dropouts is one. Something physical. So if you were to look at them, their clothing. Their clothing is the one common denominator, because what they've done is they've understood when you live on purpose, they know that every day we clog our mind with unproductive decisions. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? What am I going to wear tomorrow morning? Have I forgot this? Have I forgot that? All of these things which you can actually solve and spend more time on your creative thinking and on areas of your life that matter more. So Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs had the same turtleneck black jumpers, the same jeans. Mark Zuckerberg has the same grey t-shirt, the blue jeans, all in his wardrobe. So every morning they get up, guess what? They don't have to worry about what they got to wear. It's sorted for them. The day before, they know exactly where they're going, what the plan is. They know the routine straight away. So what happens is, none of the mind is clogged with these basic trivial decisions. They can focus on creative thinking. That spare capacity in the brain can be more useful and more productive there. Compound effects. Anyone heard of the term the compound effect? Couple here. Now the compound effect is very powerful in the sense that here it shows that a lot of choices we make, assuming we make the decision on January 1st, most of the time, let's say I want to get healthy, I'm sign up to the gym, I'm going to join the gym, start doing some weights, doing some running. I'm not really going to notice much change until on average about 27 months here. But most people give up after 3-4 months and say, I didn't see any results. I've been to the gym a lot, but I still look the way I do. And this is a compound effect because it's your regular decisions that matter. It's what you do regularly, not what you do once in a while, that's going to determine the result. A monetary version of this that explains the compound effects is this. So I'm going to give you 2 options. So one is I can give you £1 million in cash now, or I'm going to give you €1 million in cash now, or 1 cent now, but I'll double that 1 cent every day for 30 days. Who would take the £1 million cash now? Okay, a couple of you. How many of you would take the 1 cent today, given I'll double it every day to month 30? Okay, the 1 cent is the right answer because you get to sort of day 22, 23, I think you're up to about sort of 88,000, something like 88,000 euros. It's not until you get to day 28, day 29, and you hit day 30, you've actually made 5.4 million euros. And that's a monetary version of the compound effect in action. Is it's those small daily decisions you take that compound over the months, over the years, to what the results are. There's a famous statement I heard, and I think it sums it up so true. You get rewarded in public for what you spend years doing in private. And I think this sums it up clearly in the diagram there. And this is just something that sort of summarizes that. So you make your choices, then your choices make you. Every decision, no matter how small, alters the trajectory of your life. Because with that compound effect, you can slowly divert, and then you just go back meters off where you were going on that trajectory. So the last part I want to talk about here is the mindset and the magic of accountability. And in the magic of accountability, I'm going to talk about mastermind groups. Is anyone a part of mastermind groups? Know what I'm talking about with mastermind groups? Okay, 1 or 2 people here. I'll dive a bit more into the power of this, so you know a little bit about it, and you may want to join one after this session. So going back to this quote about the mindset, one of the biggest barriers to a mindset for success is our beliefs. So I just want you to shout out some beliefs that have guided your life so far. So it could be a belief that I've got to work hard, I've got to have a family by the age of 30, whatever it is. What sort of other beliefs have dominated your life so far? Any beliefs? No?
Consistency.
What's that?
When you say A, you also say B.
Okay.
Yeah. I clearly hear my mother in the back of my head.
So parental influence.
Yeah.
Okay, parental influence. Anyone sort of get that as well?
For the parental influence.
Yeah. So it could be beliefs created through your parents. But whatever beliefs you have, here's the interesting thing. Pretty much every belief you have is made up, except for two. And it's these two. The one on the left is the laws of gravity. I mean, straightforward. If I were to push the glass will fall and sort of break if it's on sort of hard floor there. And the second one on the right is the rule of law. Yeah, if you were to commit a crime, you get put into jail. That's what happens. But everything else is pretty much made up. And it's up to us to question those beliefs and whether those beliefs are applicable or useful to where we want to go. Okay, so here we got belief is a catalyst that activates all your mental and physical powers. The text has sort of come off a bit. Basically, the left box is talking about potential. So we all start with this potential, the potential to achieve whatever it is in those areas of your life that you want to focus on. The second is the belief part, which I talked about earlier. So there's a famous saying that says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. And that plays back into the fact that it's our invisible world that creates our visible. So one of the previous lecturers said, what comes first, thinking or feeling? The fact is, thinking always comes first, because moment to moment, all we are ever doing is feeling our thinking. So moment to moment, whatever you're thinking, you're feeling. And that creates your reality. It's why some people see a bad situation as a challenge, and some see it as the end. As, that's it, I can't continue. And then you've got the action there, following through what you said you're going to do, and then massive action equals big results. But you can only ever take massive action if you've got the belief in place, the mindset and the visualization we talked about earlier. Now I'm going to talk a little bit here about mastermind groups. There's only a couple of you that heard of it. But I'll tell you an interesting story. So in London, a couple of years ago, I met someone who eventually became one of my mentors. And he asked me, do I want to go to a mastermind group? I'd never heard of what a mastermind group was, so I thought, okay, I'll go along. Next thing he tells me is, make sure you dress nice, we're going to the Ritz. So here's me thinking, well, that sounds a bit posh for a mastermind group, and it just sounds like a few people meeting up and chatting about what they're doing. So I turn up at the Ritz, we got a table there, and I'm sitting, and there's about sort of 10 of us on the table. And he says, okay, I want each of you first to introduce what you do, and so everyone knows a bit about you. So he starts on the right, and the first people on the right were this couple on the top right. If you watch National Geographic, the couple is called Kylie and Patrick. Patrick left his job at Goldman Sachs about 4 or 5 years ago. They met while shooting a pilot on a handheld camera on YouTube in Italy about 4 years ago. Their program, When Kylie Met Patrick, is now aired in 76 countries after they quit their jobs. And they now have 4 companies between them, one being HelloFresh, which is one of the UK's fastest growing startups. I then met Mark Burton. So Mark Burton is the owner of this nightclub I was talking about, and then some other, down the bottom you've got a TEDx speaker for those who watch TED Talks, and he sort of runs infrastructure development in Africa. And so you can imagine when all these people started saying who they were, and here's me, and I've not started anything yet. I'm thinking, okay, I want to explore this in terms of my business, and all these people said their credentials, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed it doesn't come to me, because what have I got to say? So it comes around, and fortunately, it stopped one person before me and says, we're out of time, we've got to move to the next section. But in the 3 months I was part of this mastermind group, the impact it has on you is incredible. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that's completely true. So when you're hanging around with people, when you meet them on a weekly basis, and they're saying to you, oh, I've just launched this new product in Italy, I've got my new line that's going to be launching at the Fashion Week in 2 years' time, or 1 year's time, because I'm working on the lines to come out, I've got a couple of designers working with me. Suddenly you start thinking, wow, if he or she can do that, what's possible for me? And when you hang around with these sort of people who are exactly where you want to be, or on the same journey as you, you can't help but take some of that enthusiasm, that energy into where you are. So what I want you to do now, just as a self-reflection, I want you to jot down on that bit of paper, who are your 5 friends, or 5 people that you spend most of your time with? So just quickly jot down who are the 5 people you spend most time with.
Today, or not what we wish.
At this moment, yeah. So who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with? Or if you haven't got paper, just think about who these 5 people are. And as you reflect, or as you write these names down, I want you to ask you, what does this tell me? And think of it in relation to where you want to get to. Your visions from earlier, when we did the visualization exercise. And I want to finish with, it's a great sort of Bruce Lee quote here. And there's so many people I've met, sort of at talks, at sort of coaching one-to-one, sort of entrepreneurs looking to start. And they all go, yeah, I know what to do. Yeah, I'm willing to do it. Yeah, just show me what I've got to do. But actually, it just breaks down to this, really. Knowing is not enough. You have to apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. So on that note, what I want to do to try and combine the accountability and combine the action is just in your row, in your group, I want you to share, based on what you talked about earlier, your vision in that present, what are you going to do in the next week or 2 to move yourself just 1 step forward? We'll wrap up now, and any questions I can take outside there. Thank you very much.